Thank you, Tom. Well, you ready to fight after that last presentation? How many of you have had the demoralizing experience of being labeled a troublemaker as soon as you question or raise an objection to a policy, regulation, proposal, or teaching method? Quite a few of you, I see. Okay. Well, being seen as uncooperative is a no-no, as you've probably figured out. Sometimes you may even wind up in an out-and-out confrontation when all you meant to do was inject a different viewpoint. Unfortunately, most laypersons, and sometimes even legislators, don't realize they're dealing with well-trained provocateurs the minute they set foot in a room with folks who are chairing a meeting. These chairpersons may pretend to be just facilitators and moderators of a discussion, but they're not. To have your view heard and taken seriously, you must know first how to recognize psychological manipulation and work around it. You need to take the debate away from your adversary and argue the question on your terms, not on your opponent's terms. To do this requires that you master certain principles of argument and be able to apply them in a group setting and under pressure. For reasons you'll understand shortly, it's easier to control a group than a single individual. Now, that may seem strange, but it's actually the reason behind attempts to collectivize people, suppress their individuality, as per Michael Shaw's comment earlier on. Unethical facilitators, like the ones with an ulterior motive, will try to maneuver you first into a group setting, and that's your first giveaway that you're dealing with a pro. Or as I'll be using the term here, a provocateur, a change agent, an agitator, but basically a provocateur. The group is used by this provocateur to help combat any potential adversary by isolating you, ridiculing you, ostracizing you, and finally overwhelming you. Attorneys, media commentators, and journalists are among the few who get the training that I'm going to give you. Most of us are caught up in the idea that there's always strength in numbers and that that's the best way to get through to an adversary via a one-on-one discussion. Both are true only if people are honestly debating the issue as equals. But it's not true if the debate is dishonest. If a provocateur can generate a mob mentality and get it to work for him, well, he has control of the agenda. And that's rule number 2. Never let the other fellow conduct the agenda and control the agenda. And by the way, that's how your kids get caught up in all sorts of nastiness, from falling for the hype over trashy artists like Eminem to competing to look like hookers and pimps in school. The teacher, who nowadays functions as an agent of change before all else, deliberately heightens peer pressure so that it functions as a mob mentality. Once that occurs, ideas can be planted that go against 2,000 years of civilization. Both children and adults will accept them for no other reason than that it's fashionable. Of course, children are typically undiscerning and have no experience with hardcore manipulation tactics. Too many parents today have been convinced by experts that authoritarianism and individualism are bad. After nearly 45 years of this nonsense, most of us are ill-equipped to stand up for our principles, much less teach our kids how to do so. We fear being censured and insulted. When we feel cornered, we may sound hysterical, raise our voices, and ensure our doom. The key to remember is that the provocateur gets the group to do the dirty work for him. The mob mentality is achieved by creating what is known in the vernacular of experts as a psychologically controlled environment. You will want to disrupt, or better yet, preempt the establishment of a psychologically controlled environment. Failing that, you'll need to understand the strategies and techniques that a provocateur uses to assure the outcome he or she wants, so that you can counter these techniques as you go and get others in the group to help you, whether they understand what you're doing or not. In other words, you have to beat the provocateur at his or her own game. So, the first principles you need to be clear about to mount an effective campaign that will neutralize the provocateur's consensus-building strategies are: it's easier to control a group than to control a single individual. Never let the other fellow control the debate or agenda, and watch out for the psychologically controlled environment. These are the core principles of controlling a discussion. The rest of the principles we will take up may appear at first glance to apply only to physical wars, but they're key to any kind of battle, including psychological warfare.